Welcome into TFW Live, the best kept secret in fantasy football. We keep that week one feeling going all year long. I'm Big Travie. I'm joined here by one of my best friends, Johnny Game Time Hicks. Sending a big we miss you to Austin Sear, who will be back with us probably this week. I would imagine so. I don't read the emails, so I don't really know. No, I'm just kidding.
No one ever
and we got to say, yeah, exactly. Got to say what's up to Whisper Nation in the chat. We love you, Mike, Albert, all the guys in here. We've got Jersey J, everybody going to be mocking with us. And of course, if you love fantasy football and want to join a community where you know you belong, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. We're trying to get just one more subscriber on that stream, baby. Just one more, could be you. And if you're new, let us know where you're streaming from. We'd love to shout you out. As has been the case for the last few weeks, we've got another monster, special, epic guest on the show today. Our guy, Ian Hartitz from Pro Football Focus. Yeah.
Let's go.
What is going on, Ian?
Great day to be great, fellas. Good to be back and get a little sleeper market. I've been doing most of my work to this point over at Underdog, so it'd be good to have more of a redraft field of things. I'm hoping we can go through a whole episode without talking about week 17 correlation and all this nonsense. Yeah, guys, let's do it.
I didn't tell you this is actually a best ball.
Yes.
No, I'm just messing with you, Ian. We appreciate you being on here. Yeah, we've been sticking to the redraft stuff. We've done a couple bit of Underdog, so we love Underdog as well. If you guys want to hit that promo code TFW for up to $100 in matched money, Underdog is an excellent way to be jamming your, scratching that fantasy football itch right now in the middle of this summer. But before we jump into this draft, which we've got a full room, we're excited. We know the chat is excited as well. Ian, we've had. Yeah, they are all over it right now. They're in it.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, they got to get a little bit wild here. I poured my tequila. I know Ian's got a beer over there. We're going to get into this. We're good. We got the gloves on. But, Ian, second time on the show, but we haven't really got to ask you some of our rapid-fire questions just to get to know you a little bit. So we're going to jump into those if you don't mind.
Cool.
Do you root for your NFL team or your fantasy team more?
NFL team. Still the Cowboys. I'll say this, though. I was born in 93. I've seen like 2 freaking playoff wins. So I am the miserable Cowboy fan, not the entitled Cowboy fan.
Yeah, exactly. You're not the one breaking the TV. You're just wishing you could. Yeah.
Wait, did you cry? Like a lot of the other Cowboys fans during their playoff loss this year?
No, that was, I bet in the 49ers, I thought they would win the whole time. I have to be objective in my job, obviously, but they always find a way to make you think they have a chance to win these games before they just get, completely just find a new way how to lose usually to Aaron freaking Rodgers. The Des Cottick game, I kicked the table I was sitting at so freaking hard. But once that game happened, I feel like I had that happen, and I saw my Ohio State Buckeyes get shut out by Clemson. It wasn't too long afterwards. Once I just had those 2 stomach punches, I feel like I'm just immune to it all now.
Yeah, you built up the callus. How about your least favorite fantasy football player of all time?
Least fit, just any kicker to ever exist. Probably I would say, man, don't hate the player, hate the ADP, and just it's weird. I went separate categories of bust because when people were calling Rashad Penny, still call him a bust. He's just been hurt. The dude's been sick every time he's out there. We could do a better job talking about these players because at the end of the day, they're all these top 1% football guys in the world. And sometimes the off the field stuff, we get guys that party lumped into the same group as guys that are true pieces of shit. So yeah, I would just say overall kickers, just get them out of everything. And look, shout out Scott Fishbowl. I love Scott Fish. I love everything this does.
Yeah.
Again, SFB 12, awesome stuff. Kickers in a flex should be illegal, guys. What are we doing here? We're rewarding the freaking worst part of football with actual flex treatment. I just couldn't be me.
I know, especially when we've only got 2 kickers in the league that got swag. You know what I mean? Only a couple of them actually come through with swag.
Hey, maybe he's trying to get the swag
Evan
meter
McPherson coming out there saying, "Hey, we're going to the AFC Championship like that, or the Super Bowl." That was awesome.
He kicks a ball he's
I know. I agree with you there. Favorite fantasy football player of all time?
I'll go LaDainian Tomlinson.
Love that.
I had the powder blue Tomlinson jersey as a kid. Every backyard touchdown had to do his little swaggy ball flip. I want to say my first ever fantasy league. I joined my dad, like I think a lot of people do, and won the first year with LT as the 101. So how can you not love the guy?
I love it. What's a sound or noise you love?
Huh?
A sound or noise you love?
Pads popping, baby.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Big 10 football, 20 degrees outside. Ooh.
No wonder they didn't have to convince you to cover USFL this year. You're just all about it, dude. You love it. Favorite swear word?
Fuck.
Yeah, it's undefeated. It's a
Pretty
good
great
one. What are the most leagues you played in at one time?
Last year, Dynasty, like ones I had to set rosters in for every week. I think I was at 15. That was a lot. Not trying to do more than that anymore. Yeah. Said yes too many times, and yeah, I actually had the. It was funny. Shout out Dave Kluge over at Football Guys.
Boy.
Not trying to shout him here. I beat him week 1, forgetting I was in like the AJ Dillon sleeper league. I just forgot I was in a bunch of leagues, and I saw like an app from him like in week 1. He's like, man, like lost to Hartitz, like starting Will Fuller on a suspension or whatever. Like that's
brutal.
I was like, nah, that was just mind games, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Mess with it. All right, kickoffs in 2 minutes. You're still deciding your flex. Are you going to go with the rankings you post on PFF? Not trying to get you in trouble with the mothership here. Are you going to go with your rankings, or are you trusting your gut?
I try to go by the rankings, but they're always, a work in progress. I don't have them uploaded in this or anything, so we're going gut. It says Superflex?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had to look at that.
Thing we told you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because the ADP looks like it's for non-Superflex, but that's gonna separate some of the men from the boys out here.
Right, exactly. All right, and then your favorite position so far to draft from this year?
Maybe where I'm in. I didn't even realize we were Superflex, but I think 1-4, you're walking away with one of McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, or Justin Jefferson. And there's nothing wrong with any of those guys. Like I think Jamar Chase, you could say, is in that tier as well, but there is probably going to be a good 30 target difference between like him and what Jefferson and Kupp are working with. I go back and forth with CMC and Jonathan Taylor by the day with the one-on-one, because I wanted to be McCaffrey before free agency and the draft. And they didn't do a single thing to upgrade the QB room, so I was like, all right, let's go with Jonathan Taylor. Just don't lose it at one-on-one. His floor is higher. But to their credit, they upgraded. Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. So
let's go.
I'm going to put some more thought into it, but I think I'm ready to go back to CMC 101. You could argue who always should have been, but you know what? Like this is what fantasy ends up being. We talk about like, oh, do you have this guy 5 versus 6? When in reality, it's once we get into the middle, later rounds, I think really make a difference.
Yep.
I love it. Love the breakdown here. All right. Well, if everybody's good with it, let's get this thing started,
Let's go.
Hell yeah.
All right.
There we go.
Got to add to the stream.
Yeah.
There we go. All right.
I told Dirty Jersey to draft Chase. Oh, he's a coward. I called him out. He's a coward. Oh, okay. People know.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. I was talking to Johnny. We were talking about Scott Fishbowl off air a little bit and like what our drafts are going like right now. I saw you put the
post. Not going
was
like
that from Troy with Brad Pitt. But how are you? How have in the recent years have you had a lot of quarterbacks fly off the board? Because last year for me it was my first year in. Didn't see a lot of quarterbacks come off the board. This year it's been nuts, man.
First of all, yeah, Troy's such a badass movie. It's got like 4 or 5. Like the movie itself is pretty mediocre, but it's got a handful of scenes that are just unreal. Okay, Lamar versus Mahomes. I do lean Lamar. Wow. That's sound effects. I want to stab myself right now.
Yeah, you just have to
click that. Yeah, you got to click that sound button.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. They're pretty nuts.
Okay, what was the question?
Well,
just how your Scott Fishbowl draft has been going.
Yeah, last year I tried doing zero QB, excuse me, with Baker and Fitzpatrick. So and Justin Fields. So it went really well. Yeah. Really great roster I built there. This year, taking a slightly different approach. I got Kyler at the 105, was able to get Jamar Chase back around the other end. But, man, I was looking at the third-round QBs. I think it's going to be time to pull the trigger. They're there still. The ADP over there, I think, is doing us a lot of favors. Like Trey Lance and Justin Fields just absolutely buried relative to where I think they should be. So might have a chance to get them later, but the more I've done Superflex and also like in regards to Dynasty, man, just more time, not 9 times out of 10. I think if you can get 2 quarterbacks in the first 3 rounds, you're just going to be feeling so much better. You get cute because you start seeing the Jonathan Taylors and of the world, falling. But then just again, but by the time you get to round 8 or 9, you have so many chances to load up on the running backs and wide receivers. It's not like a natural way to draft, which I think is the problem. But I would say again, two QBs within the first 3, if not just going back to back at 1 and 2.
Where with it being a tight end premium, and Scott Fishbowl, where are you looking to grab your tight end? Because I know that there is a lot of talk at, hey, you should wait. You try to get that breakout kind of tight end. Or are you one of those that like, hey, I want to grab one of these top elite tight ends for certain, and then maybe I'll grab a 2 or 3 or my second or third tight end later on, the ones that potentially could break out?
I want to say Kelsey is already gone. Andrews probably isn't too far behind him. Oh yeah, they're both already gone. So I don't hate. Oh, and Waller too. Fuck me. Okay, I was gonna say if Kittle, one of these guys, was gonna fall a little bit like they have been over in best ball land, I'm not against kind of getting that round or two discount, especially for Kittle, man. Because I really do think Kittle. The analogy I always like to use, like if we had a football style Space Jam game to save the planet, like who's our tight end one? I really think it's George Kittle. Like he is the best tight end in the game. And there is a scenario, I think, where he becomes number one in that offense. Like he is that good. And just like he's only had I think 6 touchdowns is like his career high. Like just wouldn't shock me at all if we just see a complete blow up season from Kittle. Whereas I'm not so sure Waller, playing behind Devontae Adams just has that same thing. Maybe I'm not giving Debo enough respect there, but it's just more so how good I think Kittle is. So usually I lean much more towards I'm more of a volume over talent tiebreaker guy, but in Kittle's case, I'll make an exception. Is
that how you've generally attacked the San Francisco situation? Is putting your chips in on Kittle? Because that's the big thing for me is I want to believe in Debo's talent as a wide receiver. Like if you take away the rushing, which everybody's getting, like infatuated with, he's actually been an absolute like baller at wide receiver. So like, but with the Trey Lance like conundrum, how have you kind of been landing on those pass catchers over there?
The Lance Ayuk pairing has been really natural in best ball because their ADPs are pretty close to each other. You can kind of get them on the turnaround. So that's been a fun one. I just haven't been getting too much Debo. Like I'm taking T. Higgins or I'm taking the workhorse running backs in front of him. The way things are going right now, like I'm usually leaving most drafts with at least 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds. There's just so many workhorses there. And we have the upside guys. And okay, the wide receivers, like you get through the first 6, first 5, honestly, before you have questions. Now, like, Devontae, Tyreek, Debo, they're probably good enough to make up for it, but so many guys have quarterback changes. I went through the top 24 wide receivers in the Underdog ADP, and I think only 11 are actually playing with the same quarterback that they had last year. Wow. So, look, for like Cortland Sutton and Judy and stuff, it'll be a positive. So I'm not saying it isn't, but there's just these questions to the point where I'm like, all right, let's wait and see if DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, or whoever falls. I'll get the sick running back in the meantime.
Okay. I like that strategy. All right.
Like right now, I'm going to take Stephon Diggs, not because I think he's necessarily like for sure better than these other receivers, but he's back with Josh Allen. He might be better, like to begin with, like who knows? But yeah, just take the guy with more continuity. We have these guys get traded or they get signed to a new team or they get drafted. And it's all we talk about during the offseason. When in reality, just in terms of what's best for their on-field path, it's probably the guy that, has just been in the same city he was before, training with the same guys he played with last year.
Yeah, still has his QB. And I like what you said there. And you, Dwayne, have covered it on the show quite a bit. All these different, like you get into that pocket of these question mark wide receivers before. And I think it's just it's a good area of the draft. I mean, obviously we're in Superflex, but in those regular redrafts, single QB, like you're looking at a range that you can attack Leonard Fournette, Saquon Barkley, some of these stud running backs that are just sitting there, and then look to kind of just hammer wide receiver as you get further down, which has been good.
I probably would have taken any of the top 6 running backs. I kind of cut it off after Dalvin Cook there ahead of Stephon Diggs. But to me, Diggs is in that top 4, top 5 right there with CD, Chase Jefferson, and Cooper Kupp. So
I love
feeling good.
Yeah. So you went Trey Lance here just for the pure Konami code upside to pair, or are you really believe in him over these guys like maybe Stafford or Prescott or even Cousins who are kind of a safer play at QB?
Dak was the only one that I think I do have ranked ahead of Lance still. But the more I think about it, the more I'm ready to move Lance basically just behind Jalen Hurts. The quarterbacks that have that much rushing volume, they just don't bust. It really doesn't happen. I looked at, there's been like, I want to say 13 instances of a quarterback having 125 plus rush attempts, which like, even if you're more conservative with Lance's projection, because what he did last year is like on pace to freaking break records. He had like 18 rush attempts and one of his only two and a half extended appearances. So like, even being conservative off that, he's still really clearing 125 with ease. The weapons he has, like he doesn't even need to be this great passer yet. Dump it down to any of these guys, and they're going to be great. And like I was saying, like 13 quarterbacks had hit the 125 mark. Only Patriots Cam Newton, who at that point could barely throw a football, 20 yards downfield. Love Cam, but let's face it, just hasn't been the loveliest end to his career. And even Cam was surprising at the QB 17 points per game. Everyone else, man, was like top 11, and there was just 6+ like top 5 quarterbacks in there. So, and that was points per game. So I wasn't even like rewarding the guys just for staying healthy the whole time. Like I'm not buying the Jimmy G's going to be back. You've heard Kyle Shanahan all off season. Like, no, he's not going to come right out and say it. But like Kyle Shanahan was telling us that the plan is to trade Jimmy G. Not a report, not the GM. Kyle Shanahan was saying the plan is to trade him. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure Trey Lance is going to be under center come week one.
My favorite has been Evan Silva said that they basically had to force themselves to lock him out of the building so they wouldn't go to him. Like that's why they're like, hey, don't come to camp at this point. I thought that was pretty funny. Johnny, you've started here with Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, Kirk Cousins, and then Kyle Pitts. Talk a little bit about your build so far here.
It's actually one of my favorite mocks starting out so far. I really like this build. I didn't think Cousins was going to fall to me. I did want to push back that QB position, and seeing that Cousins fell to me, it kind of worked out really well. Grabbing that Kyle Pitts, pushing off that wide receiver, like Ian was saying, because there is such a good pool to draft from. And I'm jacked, dude. Dalvin Cook and Najee, and the first two get those anchor running backs. I love it. I wasn't trying or planning on doing that. It just kind of fell that way, and I just ran with it. And so far, I like
being fluid. That's always a good strategy in the draft here.
That's a good time to get Kyle Pitts too. Same kind of thing I was talking about with
after Waller too.
Waller and Kittle. Has Kittle even gone yet? What the fuck?
I don't think so. No. It might be your fifth round pick here. I wanted to ask you about your fourth round pick because you've had Edwin Porras on. We had him on just last week, and basically he's like, hey, look, this could be Cam Akers. This could just be who he is. Or we could sit here at a situation and say it may not matter because he's going to get all the volume, and you got your guy, your Space Jam tight end here. But talk a little bit about Akers here, and you're just the upside maybe for him.
It's funny as someone that I'm in the best ball streets, basically. I usually wait till like March, but you see the way the rankings change throughout the offseason. And like after the Super Bowl and stuff, Akers was in a lot of people's like top 10s early, and even, if not top 10, usually top 12. And now he's going like RB 18 or 19. So I think all that risk has already been baked into his ADP. And shout out Graham Barfield over at Fantasy Points. I think he brought up the point that it was like, you could argue Cam Akers almost at his floor at this point. Like it's him and Darrell Henderson. They didn't go out of their way to add any meaningful competition. The only guy they drafted has now broken his foot, and he, I'm forgetting his name, one-dimensional scat back out of Notre Dame. Regardless, sorry for forgetting.
Kyron Williams.
There we go. Thank you. So again, like he was never going to be a threat to Akers, and I think we've already seen with them go to Henderson. I do think there's a chance that's more. I don't know that he gets the Gurley role necessarily, but that's on the table. Like that was the plan last year. They briefly gave it to him in the playoffs. I'm not really worried about the porous efficiency. You can look at the yards after contact numbers, but man, yards per carry is the most like overrated stat in fantasy to begin with. We're looking at the primary like lead back in an offense that we're all expecting to be top 10, if not top 5 in scoring. So if we can get that guy in the fourth round, I'm very fine with that.
Damn you, Big Travie. I thought I could wait on Sutton one more round.
Dude. Well, you almost, I was going to take him with one of those picks, but this is what we were talking about, like putting wide receiver off. And then if you could tell me I could get 2 alphas out of here in Sutton and Williams, Williams is that guy that like, obviously he could end up ceding all the work, or most of the work to Keenan Allen again, but damn, doesn't it feel good like having him on your team because he's just like a badass. So that's where I'm at. And I think Sutton's in a similar boat where, has anybody had kind of a low-key worse offseason than Jerry Jeudy right now? It just feels like it's all trending in Courtland Sutton's way.
So
And I
here's
think
the thing with Judy defenders, who they almost like mock the Gabriel Davis stats. I guess that's a thing now, and they're like, yeah, look at the quarterback difference, look at the touchdowns. What's Tim Patrick been doing then? Like
right.
the whole Judy thing,
Just being a badass wide receiver. Yeah, like
Tim Patrick has been the best wide receiver on the Broncos over the past 2 years. You can take your first round draft capital. I've seen the route running highlights, but like that's the thing, man. It's not like one of these kind of Pittsburgh situations where it's like, man, everyone was struggling. Like the yards per target were down for everyone. You watch Ben, it was like Tim Patrick was out there doing his thing the entire time.
And hey, just shout out to you last year when you were on the show. Your screen name on there was Free Tim Patrick. Yeah, and they did somewhat. And I agree. People are definitely undervaluing what Tim Patrick does and brings to that offense. Now, I think Sutton definitely has a monster year because I think this is the best quarterback he's ever had coming off that second year off of that injury. I think that is when you see a big jump. But Tim Patrick is a guy that I think people should definitely be grabbing later on in their drafts, because if anything happens to Sutton, you're definitely going to see Tim Patrick take over that number one position role, because that's what he has done in the past. So,
and I think he's going to start on the outside with Sutton.
I do.
Yeah, if you're talking about what we're looking for the most in preseason, and there's a few storylines, but like the usage of these wide receivers in Denver, like where are they going to put Judy? Because it doesn't just affect the wide receivers. Then we're talking about all Albert O and the tight ends too, because if we're using 12 personnel and we're pulling Judy off and all these different things. So definitely interested in Denver. And you can just see the ADP, like people, in best ball, obviously because of correlation too, which I know is your favorite there. But I think that's also part of what's going on with the ADP as well. Let's see. So you went with Brandon Cooks here. I think it's been kind of he's like everybody's off-season favorite value. Brandon Cooks here.
It's a little more expensive than usual, but
it's been steaming him up a bit.
Shout out Houston. The one guy they decided to pay is Brandon Cooks. But you know what? Like, okay, that's fine. Good. It's not like this is what pissed me off about the Bears so much. Like, you couldn't gotten Fields anything. Like, I know you had the backloaded contracts for Khalil Mack. I know you're like not in a position to contend this year, but when these teams are like tanking, they're doing it so they can get a first-round quarterback to hopefully build around. Like, you have it with Fields. Let's find out and not just waste a year. Like, for them to only bring in Byron Pringle, all due respect to the Pringle family, but like that's the best wide receiver you got. And maybe Velus Jones is good too, man. But Fields I feel like isn't even going to have a chance until 2023 at the earliest, if they even stick with him still to be that guy. But yeah, Brandon Cooks. I mean, just once people start, it happens every year, like in June, because that's when people start doing their like projections for the actual season. And you get to the Texans, and it's like, oh shit, he's probably going to get 130 plus balls thrown his way. And guess what? Davis Mills last year, 4 300 passing yard efforts, might not suck. Second best rookie QB, probably behind Mac Jones, at least from what we saw last year. I'm not betting on that being the case by the end of this season, but you know what? Like, just because the guy, just because he kind of took people by surprise, doesn't mean we need to live on the pre-draft evaluation forever. Guys, once they're out there playing on Sundays, let's focus a little bit more on that.
No, I'm with you there, and it's funny. We were talking about Fields a little bit off air before you came on here, Ian. Do you? I'll let you and Johnny kind of wrap a little bit on this. Are you in on Fields? You talked a little bit about his ADP getting buried. Are you in on a Fields, like, at least from a fantasy angle, kind of mini breakout this year?
As your second QB, I think he's great, because again, it's one of these guys where the value is just really being baked in. Like Trey Lance is getting to the point where talking about putting him probably QB7 overall. Fields is like 16th. Fields is in that sweet spot where he's usually going right after that Stafford, Rodgers, Cousins, Carr tier, where like you feel good about the guys and you're like, well, they're on good offenses. They're a safe pick. Fields is still the one where in his last 4 complete starts last year, he ripped off 4 QB1 finishes. Like, yeah, the offense around him objectively is terrible. It also was terrible last year. And maybe we can at least get a bump in the scheme or get a bump in the rushing usage, because we know Fields has that in him. So again, we just don't really see quarterbacks that have Fields prototype as this high volume rusher bust in fantasy football. He could always get hurt, but even that whole thing about rushing, I saw the ridiculous ESPN poll. Well, it wasn't ESPN who did it. It was like NFL executives, but left Lamar Jackson out of the top 10. It was like, oh, he got hurt last year. Just goes to show you if he can keep it up. Like, there's no scientific evidence that mobile quarterbacks get injured more often than statues. And Dr. Evan Porras has done studies on that. Shout out Fantasy Points. And to me, like, just thinking about it for more than a second, like, what do you want? Like a freaking Joe Flacco type who can't move back there and the DNs can just pick a spot and pin their ears back? Or do you want like the best athlete on the field who actually knows how to slide, unlike an RG3? So, man.
And I
pisses me off, boys.
Hey, and then
grind your gears.
Yeah, I love that. But that's the other thing is that, so many people are on Lance this year as that second year kind of quarterback, that, Konami code quarterback that breaks out, similar to Hurts, similar to Lamar Jackson. And I'm not saying it can't be him. I think that there are a lot of indicators that say it could be Lance. But what I just think Fields, because of where he's going, because, not a lot of people are talking about him because of the lack of weapons and things like that. That's very similar actually to what Lamar was at, right? When Lamar broke out, he basically only had Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown.
Willie Snead was his number 2 wide receiver in his MVP season. So.
Correct. And then you look at when Hurts, we were all on last year as the breakout Konami code quarterback. And he had Smith as a rookie, and he had Goddard as the tight end. Like, that's exactly what you want. You want this where there aren't a plethora of weapons. They're very limited. And then he has to run so much. And then that's where you get it. And so I just think that, everyone's on the right track. And, that's where we
I will say it's like an arbitrage or like a Walmart version of Trey Lance. In my opinion, just
you got to give him target, man. You got to at least give him the target version.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. My problem is like you comparing him to the Eagles. I think the talent is a little bit better there, and Devonta Smith and Goddard than we're talking about. Komet.
Mooney, you're going to put Mooney. Wow, dude. Unreal.
Yeah, Devonta Smith is a much better wide receiver than Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Come on.
But I think that you're right in saying that, like, hey, if I can't get Lance or if I don't want to pay up for Lance, then I think that Justin Fields is fine enough. Trevor Lawrence is another one I'm interested in. And I know, Ian, you spent some time talking a little bit about Lawrence. Like, we were giving other guys a pass, but really didn't give Lawrence a pass. How are you feeling, like, as we've looked deeper into it, as the offseason's progressed a little bit, about a Trevor Lawrence bounce back, about him kind of regaining that clout as that huge prospect coming out?
I mean, look, if Jared Goff turned around the way he did, because no one's ever been worse than rookie year Jared Goff. Like, we can't write off Lawrence just yet. But, yeah, I mean, it was terrible last year. I mean, for him to go as long as he did, like 6 weeks or something with, like, literally, like, one passing touchdown. Like, it was just horrendous. And there were a lot of drops out there on the field. But, a lot of people won't admit it, but like Zach Wilson had a better rookie year mixtape than Trevor Lawrence. Now, Wilson had probably more lowlights than Lawrence as well out there. But again, it was just, to me, it was surprising. And also
more girlfriends for sure.
Kings stay kings. But yeah, like the fact that Lawrence like just couldn't even put up like bad numbers was what was really surprising to me. So again, like one injury after another. Obviously, Jacksonville didn't exactly have the world's, greatest surrounding cast to begin with. But, I mean, just the wide receivers that kept going down, Visca not really doing his thing. Certainly didn't get much, if any, help. But, like, talking about, like, is he going to make the same Burrow-esque leap? Like, Joe Burrow as a rookie was worlds better than Trevor Lawrence was. Better supporting cast, so it's not one for one. But, man, I think right now the expectation for Lawrence, or the hope, should be he, like, looks like average, above average, hopefully this year, because again, that's like my issue. I think with I think in the course of the offseason, we tend to do this, especially with like offensive lines. Like, we had 2 new pieces. Like, can they go from the 31st ranked unit to like 5th? Probably not. But can they go from, really bad to something closer to average? I think that'd be realistic for the Jaguars. So I'm hoping they turn into like, a fun, hopefully a little bit more high scoring, like 6-11 type team, because I still think they're a year or two away. And the other thing, too, guys, when you see teams really trying to solve their roster through free agency, I just kind of think it's a red flag here. Like, that's almost why I've been drafting a little more Wilson over Lawrence. Like, you actually look at just what the organizations have done since they've gotten the rookie quarterback. And I know the Jets have been the laughing stock for the longest time, but don't look now. Both these New York football teams have been making some pretty good personnel moves over the past 2 years. Now, they have all the draft capital and salary cap room to do so. They better be doing that. But, yeah, just – again, based on what Jacksonville has been doing versus the Jets and these other squads, it's hard to be too optimistic, despite obviously as great of a talent as he is.
Our guy Zare in the chat says, I'm in the 9 spot in Anaheim League with Ian in SFB 12. Insane value is falling, he's saying here.
There we go.
Also
seeing the
saying,
championship.
yeah, he says I'm the only Mitch Trubisky supporter in fantasy football. Such low opportunity costs for the starting.
I'm with you, Z. I'm with you. I'm in that boat.
He just said he's the only one, so you can't even join him.
Well,
he
just didn't look hard enough, I guess. I commented on a couple of his tweets where he tweeted about Trubisky. I do think that's going to be a guy that I target in my Scott Fish team, just because the upside is definitely there.
Johnny, you took Ayuk here, and we were talking about the Ayuk Trey Lance stack. Maybe Ian incepted you, but I did want to bring up, because I didn't bring it up earlier, the reception perception. Shout out to Matt Harmon. Much better for Brandon Ayuk than it is for Gabe Davis. We're still very unsure. Obviously, the situation's a lot better, but we're very unsure about Gabe Davis as a wide receiver in the NFL, if he's good enough. I think the situation's good and he's worth the investment. But, Brandon Ayuk sitting there as somebody that's shown us flashes, and even down the stretch last year, it's just so hard for me with the unknown of Trey Lance to really figure out what we do with these pass catchers.
Oh, Ian definitely talked me on to the Ayuk, because this is the true confession here. This is the first time I mocked and drafted Ayuk this whole offseason. So he definitely incepted my brain there, and I figured, why not?
He's sick, and it really was better in the second half of the year. People are getting a little wonky with the split. We're like, he's a wide receiver 17. It's like, quit using that. Week 7 through 14 split where like half the guys have played, a game or two less than whatever player you're talking about.
Take out week 8, and because
but even once you do the points per game, he was more of like a borderline wide receiver 2, boomer bust wide receiver 3. He's being drafted as like a wide receiver 4. Sometimes he falls even beyond that. So I think the price is fine.
Zone. He was the red zone target leader there for San Francisco.
He's just really good. I mean, him versus Gabe Davis, like I just think Davis is going to have he could have 40 more targets. Wasn't the case in the past, but we're not playing in 2021. We're playing in 2022 here, people. So,
yeah.
Last time I checked, right?
My sources are correct. Okay.
Love the Russell Gage here pick as I botch you taking your next guy here. But talk a little bit about how you've you got your guy CPAT too. Just like kind of this 8 through 11 range, what you've been able to stack up here.
Boy, that's a good one too.
I went Russell Gage, Alan Lazard, and Tyler Boyd, full PPR. I actually have a article. I didn't do wide receiver. I have an article coming out tomorrow on what the biggest I took our PFF projections and looked at the difference in ranks for PPR to standard and who has the biggest, because we talk about it, but I want to try to quantify it more for some of these running backs. But for the receivers, like Tyler Boyd was really standing out as, and I think it makes sense as one of these guys that is really you're going to benefit from having him in full PPR versus anything less than that. And at this point, guys, I know at Underdog, he's like the wide receiver 50. I mean, the last 2 years he's finished wide receiver 36 in a PPR points per game. But if you actually look at the 12 games he's had without one of Higgins or Jamar Chase, which obviously was pretty much Burrow's whole rookie year, Burrow has not been afraid to force feed the ball to Tyler Boyd in those instances. So I really think if anything happens to Higgins or Chase, we're going to be looking at Boyd as a legit top 24 weekly wide receiver. Even if not, again, in full PPR this late, he's a perfectly fine guy to throw there in the flex and absolutely loaded offense. So love we can get these guys closer to their floor than ceiling. Lazard, I was cool with them in that spot. Gage, real low ADP on sleeper, but I mean, most drafts I've been in, he's been going ahead of Chris Godwin at this point, who just might not even be on the field until November, or who knows when. So, Gage, Lazard, Boyd, not the sexiest 3 wide receivers, but again, we're playing fantasy football in the year 2022. Got to be prepared to be a little bit different sometimes. Luckily, though, I'm filling up on wide receiver now because we got Lamar, Lance, Diggs, Cooks, Akers, AJ Dillon, and CPAT to start. Yeah. So especially like the AJ Dillon one, guys.
Oh,
I think Dillon. I think Dillon could honestly come close to having the role that Josh Jacobs and Antonio Gibson and Miles Sanders already have, like just by virtue of being probably the number 2 option in this Packers offense. Like, we'd love saying that about Aaron Jones. AJ Dillon's there too. And man, God forbid something happens to Aaron Jones. Like, Dillon's going to be a top 5 fantasy back. We saw them feature him with that role last year. And like, that's the problem with Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and even some of the other guys I listed. Like, as good of players as they are, not all these teams are going to turn over this full 3-down handcuff role to the second guy up if the starter goes down. Green Bay, we've seen them do that with Jones, with Jamal Williams before, and with A.J. Dillon. So I just think Dillon, where he's falling usually in the mid to sometimes low, sometimes late, that RB20 range, like, out of all those running backs, like, he's the one where, again, he's not 2 or 3 things away from going right. He's already going to have a pretty decent floor, and the ceiling is the freaking moon. He's a slightly more expensive Tony Pollard, but for good reason.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say. I was going to compare him to Pollard because he's all the reasons we love Pollard in fantasy, except for he's actually established a role that grew over time. If you look at what he did last year, they actually got him involved as the weather. And there's no reason why, see some of these beat reports that say, 500 touches between the 2 backs, and I think, of course, like, look at what they've got going on the roster. That makes total sense. They've beefed up the Packers fan here. They've beefed up the defense. They're going to be, drafting or not be drafting wide receivers. That's what they do. They got Watson, but I think that'll take a little bit of time. They're going to go run heavy. This is probably what LaFleur's wanted since he got there, coming from Tennessee, coming from these Shanahan trees. And I think that's probably what he wants to end up doing if we do that there. Speaking of drafting, though, we've been rocking through this and we're just about finished, but I want to give Whisper Nation a little preview of what we got coming in July, our mock draft marathon, the 4th annual. Let's roll the clip here, Johnny.
Draft marathon. What is this? It's consecutive mock drafts for a total of 24 hours. Requires hours and even years of preparation.
Which is a little bit controversial, but
Are you shitting me, Johnny?
I didn't plan that, I swear.
I can pretty much say 100%.
Something that you really love to do.
Let the games begin.
Somebody came in and stole Johnny and they're hijacking his draft.
Oh, he's gonna blame it on his 78-year-old neighbor.
Damn it, you guys snuck in a Superflex. I knew it.
Ball is going to taste different than this meatball.
That's not that bad from a flex.
Outliers decide fantasy champions.
Stand out above the crowd.
About the same set of 200 players, and it never gets old.
Yeah,
that's right. July 23rd and 24th. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel for the Fantasy Whispers so you don't miss any of the action as we're back with the best in the industry, mocking for 24 straight hours. We're nuts with it.
I know. That's coming up quick, dude. I'm already trying to catch up on some sleep, but it's a little hard when you have a new baby. And she's keeping me up at all hours. I guess she's training me well in that case, because like I don't get much sleep right now. So
over or under 3 camera shots for being on camera there for Juniper during the mock draft marathon. You're gonna have to take some shifts, I think, during your other shifts.
Well, no, we're calling in.
Grandma,
the big guns,
yeah,
Grandma, my sister-in-law, the whole family to help out.
Yo, good pick by Pizza Belly with Naeem Hines. Also,
yeah, damn it, I thought he was gonna fall to me.
Yeah, keep falling there. He's one of those guys where, like, okay, he doesn't have the craziest, because even when Marlon Mack would get hurt, they would split carries with like him and Jordan Wilkins. But even if he wouldn't be like Pollard or Dillon level, he'd still be someone that'd be tough to keep out of the top 24 should something happen to Jonathan Taylor. And he's really good. Maybe Frank Reich's hyping him up a little bit too much, but Hines really is someone where I remember when Rivers came there and they were talking about him being Eckler, and there's a lot of scoffing, like, how dare you compare Naeem Hines to Austin Eckler? And okay, why we couldn't compare anyone to Austin Eckler? He's freaking great, but man, Hines, like, you guys remember the freaking double backflip thing, whatever the hell that celebration was. Like, that dude is a ball of energy, and if Matt Ryan's going to make him the pass down back, man, he can certainly do it. So I
mean, that's the whole thing. Is like, at first when it came out, you kind of chuckled at it. You're like, is this smoke, or can you really believe it? But then you're like, wait a second, you exo facto connect the dots, and you got Matt Ryan come over, and we're talking about CPAT. That's the exact same thing. You got a freak athlete who can catch the ball really well and become a great mismatch out of the backfield. Yes, I definitely am buying in on Naeem Hines. Been drafting him a whole lot, and now they're catching on. I got to start upping it now.
Guys, my Jahan Dotson pick, though, This is like this year's Jalen Waddle, like the first round wide receiver who's just going so underpriced because we don't love his quarterback. Like all these guys got bad quarterbacks, like except for the second round dude. So we should have known this was going to happen. And like what people had Dotson going like early second round instead of 16th. Like that's supposed to be a negative that Washington loves him like more than what a bunch of mock drafters had him in April. Like we have this weird phenomenon. Same thing with Velus Jones. Like guys go earlier than we expect them to, and all of a sudden it becomes like almost a negative for that player. The dude just got picked 16th overall. Like it's only Terry McLaurin really in that offense. All due respect to my guy Curtis Samuel. Logan Thomas isn't going to play until October at the earliest, so save me that idea. Like Carson Wentz is not good, but like Carson Wentz, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, like just because you're not a top 15 quarterback doesn't mean you suck. We've seen him produce some good passing offenses, and to be fair, best group of weapons probably in Carson Wentz's career. So I know it's the hip thing to just shit on Carson Wentz left and right, but man, like Jahan Dotson is one of the cheapest guys that is going to get triple-digit targets. I just want to draft Jamal Williams. Okay.
My whole point. Now he could be very well. I just that that system doesn't produce a whole lot of wide receiver twos that you can consistently rely on. That's my only.
That's the famous last words in fantasy.
I guess. Yeah. So that's a fair point. Maybe I'll start drafting him a little bit more.
It's just where he's going, bro. He's going like behind Jameson and Gallup, and it's like I guess he didn't in this draft because I'm in here, but he's just going behind like injured dudes that aren't even going to be out there for a bit. And again, at some point, it's like okay, we're past 50 wide receivers. Take the 16th overall pick.
Especially in Dynasty. I mean, he got just absolutely torched in Dynasty drafts that it was just like ridiculous. Jersey J wants a shout out for this league winner with his last pick. How are y'all sleeping on DJ Shark? I will say, at least for the first part of the season, it might not be a bad play there, especially if we can see the Lions take the step forward that we want them to do. But taking a step forward into this post-draft talk here, why don't you break down what you were able to do here, Ian, and tell us a little bit about your build here in this Superflex.
Again, got those first two QBs, Lamar Jackson, Trey Lance, all the rush attempts on team free Duke Johnson. Running backs, I like to call pretty much everything modified 0 RB. This one kind of fits the build. So Cam Akers, first one, round 4. Loved Dylan. Almost wish I would have gotten a wide receiver over CPAT and gone later, but you know what? He's my guy, so screw it. Got Darrell Henderson. Stacking your running backs, I understand not doing it in best ball, but, we're doing a redraft mock here. So just securing the Rams RB1. Like, we saw Henderson weeks 1 through 11 before he got hurt last year. He was putting up, like, RB1 numbers, man. It was, like, with the workload to do it. It was not a fluke. We see McVay do this with pretty much whatever running back. So feeling good about having the Rams RBs. Then Jamal Williams just continues to be one of the cheapest potential flex with benefits out there. Like really does have a chance to be this year's version of James Conner. I know he's not switching teams this year, but if the Lions start putting up points, he's probably going to be their goal line back. And he didn't fully take over when Swift got hurt last year, but he was kind of banged up himself. So give him some slack. Got the George Kittle to stack there with Trey Lance. Diggs, Cooks, Gage, Lazard, Boyd, Dotson, I think in full PPR is especially good. And, we got some dogs out there, guys. I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that take on Jamal Williams there. Not a lot of people talking about that, but even if it's a poor man's, like he's got the receiving prowess. I mean, not as great as a receiver, but he can catch the ball, which is important. And again, if the Lions take a step forward. So Johnny, as you go,
sorry, real quick, last thing on Jamal Williams. The Lions have Hard Knocks this year. Jamal Williams is like the funniest guy out there. He is going to get the Hard Knocks bump, man. His ADP is
absolutely.
If we had like a mock draft for like players that are hilarious and like you'd want to see them on camera more.
Him and Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston too. Although people I would take Williams a little bit more seriously than Winston.
Yeah, but not much, dude. Dude said he was SpongeBob or a mermaid a couple times, so I think he's a little bit out there. All right, as Johnny breaks down his team, Ian, why don't you take a look at the rest of the field, everybody excluding you, and see which one's your favorite there, and we'll have Johnny break this down. I know we want to get you out of here.
If you look at look, Easy Daddy, I respect doing the 0 RB, but then you look up and or 0 QB, but then you look up and you got Matt Ryan, Davis Mills, and freaking Baker Mayfield. It's just hard to go to war with those guys. I'm trying to look at I think think Recreation Nation did the best job of probably executing the early QB and then going to get someone later. I mean, Mac Jones, how many times do we need to see the guy play good football before we're like, he's a good football player? If he takes a leap, we can see him putting up some big numbers there. And Daniel Jones could be the classic, still bad real life quarterback, but actually good and fantasy guy. I mean, before Josh Allen became world beater Josh Allen, he was still a great fantasy quarterback because of a lot of the things that Jones does. And if you look at the Giants, one kind of underrated move was their backup quarterback is Tyrod Taylor. Like, they're not bringing back Daniel Jones next year. Dable might just run Daniel Jones into the freaking ground and just have this, fantasy-friendly offense for Jones, maybe Saquon, maybe not anybody else out there. So, Marlon Mack, I don't know if we needed him, but Judy, Renfro, Devontae, I'll go to Recreation Nation as my favorite draft at first glance.
Congratulations, Recreation Nation. You win. Pat on the back, buddy. Congratulations.
I was like, whoa, what am I giving out here?
This fake football, fake draft. Ian, we love you. Appreciate you being on here. You want to tell the people where they can find you and what you're working on lately?
Fun time again, guys. Appreciate you having me. PFF Fantasy Football Podcast. Just finished our team preview series, but you know what? We started doing these things in June, and aside from a random transaction here or there, they hold up. So if you want a good hour-long report on any NFL football team, go check out those episodes. Myself, Dwayne McFarland, will have plenty of goodness coming up as well. Catch me on Twitter at Hartitz, just keeping it real. And great time, guys. I just love that there's this many people interested in drafting on July 11th at 9:50 p.m. Eastern. Like, I don't want to call fantasy football a sport, but this activity, guys, like, tough to beat it.
Yeah, we don't have the pads popping, but we got the sound effects of the sleeper mock draft that you love so much.
I need the pads popping. Get that wow out of here. Just like grunting.
Yeah, that's what they need instead. Yeah,
visceral noises.
We'll tweet at them for sure.
Hey, it makes the people feel good sometimes. That aren't used to getting wow when they get a pick. They're like, oh, maybe I'm doing something right.
Oh man.
Well, we appreciate it, Ian. We're going to jump into some draft gates, but thanks so much for being on, brother.
Appreciate you guys. Take it easy.
Appreciate you. All right.
Hop into Ian. This. What a legend there. And we'll get into this draft here. Why don't we just start here, Johnny, with what you were able to build here and how you're feeling about it.
All right.
Trying to go through this.
Like I was saying earlier when I got through, I really like this team. Like, this is probably one of my more favorite teams that I've mock draft so far. Going Dalvin, which means that it would be probably terrible at the end of the year if I'm looking back. But here we are. Dalvin, and then Najee in the second. Then I got Penny as my third running back all the way in the 8th. And then I just hammered Madison in the 12th, White in the 13th, which is kind of coming around on grabbing him later in drafts. Travis says, we worry about Uncle Lenny and his weight. We'll see what ends up happening there.
Well, even if we weren't worried about Uncle Lenny, right? Like, Rachaad White is the guy. Unlike, what was his name? He's still on the team. The guy.
That came over from
Gio? No,
Gio?
not Gio, but the other guy, the guy they drafted.
Dude. No, we don't talk about him anymore. Yeah,
ridiculous. But anyways, I think of all the backs on the roster, White is the one to look like a one-for-one replacement for our guy, Lenny. So I want to give you props for there.
And then TDP, I like drafting him late just because,
especially last round here.
Especially because and I don't need him to pan out. I can kind of wait and see. That's what's nice about this build. So those are my running back class right there. Then my quarterbacks, I got Cousins in the 3rd, and then Zach Wilson in the 11th. Probably should have grabbed one more quarterback, but it is what it is. We're mocking. Kyle Pitts is my tight end that I got in the 4th. And then my wide receivers are Pittman, Allen Robinson, Hopkins, Chris Olave, and Brandon Ayuk. So that is my roster. I like it. And
so that's all I got to say about that.
That's all.
No, I think this is a solid roster.
What do you say? Am I in the
Wilson
scares
me in a super flex. I wish you would have got one of the quarterbacks, like even Matt Ryan. I'd be feeling better about, even Baker. And I'm not, I'm not a huge Baker guy. Any of those guys in that round or in that range, Jameis Winston. I don't mind that you went Olave. I love Olave, but maybe we're looking at a different quarterback in that range. And honestly, dude, like Jared Goff over Zach Wilson. Like there are some guys I like just a little bit more than Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I just like the mystery box of Zach Wilson. And
I will say the rest of your team, though, has me absolutely jacked. So as long as you can figure out the second quarterback, which shouldn't be too hard. I know it's a 12 team. We'll see what happens there. I would say you're on the bubble with mostly a playoff team. The second quarterback is the shifter there for me, but I really like the squad outside.
I can feel that. All right, Big Travis, let's talk about your team.
Yeah, so I went QB early and often, went Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts, but it was really surprised as the way the draft kind of fell to me here. So went Mark Andrews there in the third. I think the difference, if you look between where Kelsey went and Andrews went in this draft, is not the same that we've seen in a lot of redraft other leagues. Yeah. So really like the value of Andrews falling nearly to the fourth round here. Then got Fournette as my anchor. Went to hammer wide receiver, Cortland Sutton, Mike Williams, Gabe Davis in 5, 6, and 7. And then Pollard and Stevenson, which I couldn't be happier with as my RB2 candidates in 8 and 9. Then went back to the well at wide receiver for a couple picks, Chase Claypool, Kenny Golladay. And then just the running back situation, I think, to try and fortify what I had going here, Ronald Jones, Khalil Herbert. First of all, Jones could be, we've seen the reports, could be a candidate to win the job. If I'm getting him here in the 12th, that would be huge.
You didn't even need to see the reports. Your boy Game Time was trying to tell you all along.
Right, exactly. So Khalil Herbert is another one, though, that I think people are sleeping on in a big way to get him this late as a guy that's not just a one-for-one replacement for our guy David Montgomery, but could be a guy that this regime looks to in the back half of the year and says, is he actually better than David Montgomery? We have to take a look. And so we'll take a look at that. And then Van Jefferson, just, Ian talked a little bit about the contingency plans at wide receiver, Tyler Boyd. And I think the cheaper versions of that, of Tyler Boyd, of are Josh Palmer, Van Jefferson, KJ Osborne, these guys in really good, what we think will be pass heavy offenses that we can then invest in. Should something happen to Allen Robinson, should something happen to Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson could be in line for more work. So that's what was my attack there. I really am not interested in hearing if you think this is a playoff team, because I know it is. It's really if it's a contender or not, Johnny.
I mean, definitely, yeah. I'm with it because you got two great quarterbacks, that could both end up top 5, if not number 1. With one of those guys. And Mark Andrews again, number 1 tight end. Sutton, I already like goo gaga over him. I'm a fan of BMW. So, yeah, I really like this team. I think that, some things would probably have to work your way. But, I think you're definitely, as of today, July 11th, is that what day it is? Yeah, July 11th. I think it's a contender. I think it's definitely in the playoffs, and it could potentially be a contender depending on things going your way. But, yeah.
I'm with that. All right, let's rock through the important ones here. Screw Ian, screw you, screw me. We're talking Whisper Nation here. We'll start with Jersey J, who's been active as always in the chat. Shout out to our boy Jersey J, flexing on fools. So he goes Josh Allen 1-1 in the second round. End of the second, he takes Aaron Rodgers. Those are his QBs, except for Deshaun Watson in the 13th, playing a little bit of the upside play there. We'll see what happens there. I mean, to get him that late, he was, we're just a couple weeks removed from him going a little bit higher than that for sure, too. So looking at the running back position for Jay, he went DeAndre Swift, Breece Hall, Damian Harris, Melvin Gordon. He got that in the 3rd, 4th, 6th, and 8th rounds. And then he went T. Higgins in the 5th as his first wide receiver, then Juju Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney, Robert Woods, Rondale Moore, DJ Shark. Remember, this is a start 3. It's a PPR. It's a Superflex. Johnny, contender, is he on the bubble team? Is he a playoff team, or is he out of the playoffs?
I think this is a playoff team for me. And then it could be a contender if we find out, Deshaun Watson is only missing, 6 games, or 8 games, whatever. Or 4, something, anything less than 8, now if he's the whole season, whatever, you got to drop someone anyway. You got him so late. So it really doesn't matter. It was a good stab. I thought grabbing him that late. There is some concern potentially with that 3rd wide receiver. But again, we're really high on Kadarius Toney, and depending about Robert Woods, he could be, fairly solid. We'll see how those injury reports. Rondale Moore has a high ceiling, and DJ Chark, like you said, there could be something there. People are sleeping on him, but I really like the T. Higgins pick for sure. So yeah,
it's kind of an anchor situation he used at wide receiver. If we look at I think you're right that it is a playoff team. It could be a contender a couple of different ways, right? If Swift hits his ceiling, if Breece Hall is the feature back, Melvin Gordon and Damian Harris, if they kind of do what they did last year, you're looking at a strong team. He anchored it down with Higgins, as you said there. But what I liked what he did about his wide receivers, if you take Tony Moore, Chark out of it, and you say one of those guys should hit, let's hope they do, then you've got T. Higgins, good offense, great offense. Juju Smith-Schuster, good offense. And then you've got, Robert Woods, I think, is going to be a huge value. If everything goes and trends his way, he's going to be a value again, especially with the Burke stuff. So, I think this is a solid playoff
100%,
team.
100%.
We'll go to our guy, Classic Mike. Dude, I just got to shout out our guy, Classic Mike here. Get Right Fantasy Network. You got to follow them over on YouTube. Our guy hustles every Friday night. First of all, he's begging me every Friday night to be over there. I feel bad. I've been going to movies and doing date nights on Friday, but I'll get back on the program. Mike, we love you. We appreciate what you guys are doing. Him and I believe it's Anthony over there. Our guys continuing to grind it out. And Mike got into Scott Fishbowl this year.
Dude.
Let's
Congrats,
go, Mike.
dude.
Congrats
Let's
on that.
go. Rooting for you.
We were talking a little bit about that. So, Johnny, let's talk a little bit about Mike's team here. He went Herbert in the first round, Tua Tagovailoa in the 5th, and Mitch Trubisky in the 14th. He was pandering. He's trying to get your vote here. I can see it already. But we'll go with the running backs here. He went Mixon, then Barkley, Miles Sanders, Devin Singletary as his running backs. His wide receivers were Keenan Allen, so he's got that stack there. Not that it's hugely important, but it's kind of a fun stack that he can wait on there. With Herbert, Darnell Mooney, Elijah Moore, Christian Kirk, Jarvis Landry, and Tim Patrick. I got to be honest, it's a solid wide receiver core, but it's kind of like a vanilla ice cream receiving core. But I think it's really good. I think
vanilla is...
Hey, vanilla is the most. It's the most bought flavor, so it makes a lot of sense. Tight end, he went Cole Kmet here. I don't even know if I shouted out Jersey Jay's tight end now that I think about it. Who cares? Tight ends don't matter.
You hate Mike Gesicki.
It doesn't matter. I definitely do. How are you feeling about Mike's team here? Is he out of the playoffs, on the bubble, contender?
I think he's in the playoffs for sure. And could potentially be a contender with the stack of running backs that he got. And then again, you're talking similarly, like, let's say Mooney does hit that ceiling that we think he could get to, right? And I'm Elijah Moore fan as well. So if he could hit that ceiling like we do think he can, then I do think that this is a potential. Now we haven't dove in deep on the other teams. I do think Recreation Nation is definitely going to be a contender. So I do think he's at least in the playoffs, if not a contender for me. I like the squad.
Yeah, I think it's more. It's a little bit. I love the running backs. I love the running back. My problem is Tua. Yeah, but you have to play the right matchups. Yeah. What happens if it's just a monster camp for our guy? The guy who's third
on the depth chart right now.
Yeah, but everybody starts third as a rookie. Especially with Tom.
Exactly, and that's where his ass is going to stay.
I would just say that I'm a little bit more trepidatious with this squad than I am. So much with Jersey Jay, but I would agree with you. It's definitely for me, it's between the bubble and playoff, and I'll give him the playoff nod because Classic Mike's the man. So we're going to go with that. Smitty Satao here went Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara, as well as Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker, and Damian Pierce for his running backs. He went Matthew Stafford and Derek Carr in the third and fourth round here. At wide receiver, he waited till the 6th round. He got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Rashad Bateman, Garrett Wilson, Christian Watson, and Alec Pierce. So really trying to play the youth and the upside here. I mean, all of his wide receivers are second year or rookie wide receivers here. So really big youth movement for Smitty Satao. Tight end, Pat Freiermuth. And I forgot he got Marcus Mariota. I don't know if I mentioned it here, but he's got him down there in the 13th.
So I forgot he had him, and then he's like, well, he got him in the 13th. So
pretty forgettable. No, Smitty, is Smitty's team forgettable, or do you like his team here? What are you saying?
This one's hard for me because I like the structure of it. I do think Amon and Bateman. I think he might struggle at wide receiver beyond that. Garrett Wilson, I am a fan of, but again, you're tying that to Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson has to have a big jump up. in my opinion, to support both, Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson. So, and then you're looking at, let's say, Kamara, depending on whether or not he gets suspended, could be a big contingency. So I'm going to say on the bubble with Smitty's team here. But I love the quarterback.
This team though could absolutely fucking wreck, dude.
Oh,
I mean, the thing is Kamara's suspension's a big piece, but even Travis Etienne there is kind of that league winner profile. The problem for me is skip out on Derek Carr, get your other quarterback just a couple rounds later, and get me another wide receiver in here.
Yeah.
Because I love what you did at wide receiver if they're my wide receiver 2, 3, 4. I don't like that I have to rely on Amon-Ra St. Brown to not only look. Here's the bottom line. Amon-Ra St. Brown is an absolute fucking dog. Like, you don't do what you did and not be good at football. The problem is that target competition's a real thing. And to have DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson out of the lineup with a quarterback that we all say we want to hate in Jared Goff, we've got to talk a little bit about that. So that's where I'm at with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's a fine wide receiver 2 to 3 on any roster. I think that's where he's going to live. But to make him my anchor wide receiver, you're really counting on the Bateman bump here as the wide receiver 1, which I think could happen. Absolutely.
The other reality is too, sorry to cut you off, Travis, but the other reality too is it's not like last year was a fluke for Goff. Like, Goff has produced Cup and
I get
for
that
several years. So
I get that too. Obviously with better play calling. Now, I won't say that I don't like Dan Campbell and what he was able to do in the back half of last year, but McVay is the cream of the crop. We got to put that in there and talk a little bit about that. Sure. But again, I think that this team is, bubble to playoff. It would depend on Kamara. If Kamara's not suspended, if he's suspended 4 games or less, this is a playoff team. But if he's not, if he's suspended 6 games or more, you could be on the bubble here and looking out. Because it's not like you anchored it with a surefire QB. Stafford had the elbow injection. We have players moving in this team.
Injection, dude.
Super Bowl hangover. I love Carr,
but
still, what's the upside there? So a lot of stuff working here, but I do like the build. I think he did well here.
I mean, to your point too, just one last thing. If you would have, I'm a big fan of Carr this year, but if you would have skipped on Carr and grabbed T. Higgins in that 4th, and then where you
even AJ Brown, I don't love AJ Brown's prospect as like an every week wide receiver 1, but I love him better anchoring my wide receiver 1 position than some of the other guys we talked about. So I think he could have been a good hero wide receiver build with skipping on Carr there, but we'll move on. We love you, Smitty. Appreciate all your support.
Appreciate it.
And Johnny, I'll let you break down Pizza Belly's team here.
All right. So Pizza Belly shout out to Pizza Belly, taking Jonathan Taylor at the 105. Then he gets Ezekiel Elliott in the 4th round, followed by Antonio Gibson in the 6th. Wow, that is great. James Cook all the way down in the 9th, and then Naheem Hines in the 13th. It was a really good running back class. Well done on sniping those guys where he did. And then Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott is 2 quarterbacks. Very good stack there. Then in the 5th is when he grabbed his first wide receiver and he gets AJ Brown. Wow, that was a steal there. Amari Cooper. So yeah, he really just played what he just went with, best available, it seems like. So got AJ Brown in the 5th, Amari Cooper in the 7th, Drake London in the 8th, and then Tyler Lockett in the 11th, Michael Gallup in the 14th. And then, I missed Jared Goff all the way down there to add to his quarterback room. And then got Dawson Knox all the way in the 10th. So, I like this team. I think this team is a contender team because it's pretty badass. And there's a lot of upside. Everything was baked in for him, really. Like, you could say, oh, I'm not a big fan of Ezekiel Elliott. Well, he's your number 2 running back that he got in the 4th. And then if he does fail, okay, Gibson is there. And you can say, well, I'm not on Gibson, but he got him in the 6th as his RB3. That's excellent. So if anything, I guess you could say the wide receiver room could be a little sketch, but even still, I think it's good. I really do like this team a lot.
Yeah, I think your worst position you're looking at here is actually tight end with Dawson Knox. But touchdown upside and then offense, we've seen it before with Knox. So whatever, it's tight end, it's late tight end. And I liked what you said here about, look, if wide receiver is kind of sketchy, but Amari Cooper in that offense, target volume, it's not going to matter. He's going to be the guy they go to. They're going to have to. And London, You may not like him as a prospect, but just by the sheer fact of, again, vacated targets, they're going to have to go to him. So I think this was a typical middle round, like when you get that middle pick in the draft, you're watching volume or a value kind of fall to you. And I think that's exactly what happened with Pizza Belly. He did a good job. I think this is firmly a playoff team with contender upside just based on how things could break for his wide receivers.
I agree.
Go ahead and break down Colin Cook here as well.
All right. We got Pat Mahomes in the first. He didn't draft another quarterback, so that could be a little sketch there. We got Derrick Henry in the second, Aaron Jones, James Conner at 3 straight running backs in the second, third, and fourth. And then he waited all the way till the 11th to get Isaiah Spiller in the 11th, James Robinson in the 13th, and then Algier all the way in the 14th. And then in the middle of his draft, he went straight wide receivers. He got Deontay Johnson, my boy. Got Marquise Brown, another good pick. Adam Thielen, Chris Godwin, Michael Thomas, a couple injury people that he might have to say, but we'll see about Michael Thomas. Trey Burks and his asthma problems. So the wide receiver room does have some problems there for him. And then he gets Hunter Henry in the 13th.
Dude, this team,
what do you think?
It was auto drafted quite a bit. I know it looked like he got it turned off before the draft was over, and you could see it
on auto draft.
Yeah, because he didn't get a second quarterback. So let's say you take away Isaiah Spiller, you get him that second quarterback. I think this team's firmly a playoff team. We talk about what he did at wide receiver in the middle of the draft, but he took a lot of guys with upside here. I mean, every single one of these guys with smashing upside, in my opinion. I don't know, I'm trying to sound British here, but it's definitely a great build other than, the second QB. So with that, he's out of the playoffs, obviously. I can't really rank him in there, but I think a path to getting this team in the playoffs would have been drafting that second QB instead of Isaiah Spiller in the 11th or even Treylon Burks in the 10th, giving yourself a better. We'll talk Easy Daddy. I know he had some issues too. He had to auto draft a little bit, but why don't you go ahead and break down what he was able to do here, Johnny?
All right, he grabbed Austin Eckler in the first. He got CEH all the way down in the 6th, then Elijah Mitchell in the 7th, and then he followed that with Mark Ingram in the 14th. That's rounds out his running back room. He grabbed Travis Kelce in the 2nd round. That's his only tight end that he drafted. Then he got Debo as a pretty good value in the 3rd. Jalen Waddle in the 4th, DJ Moore in the 5th, then waited all the way until the 11th to get MBS, and then my boy Jacoby all the way in the 12th, and then Tolbert in the 13th. I like that wide receiver room there. And then waited all the way. He went 0 quarterback here, but then went straight 3 straight picks in the 9th, 10th, and 8th, 9th, and 10th with Matt Ryan, Davis Mills, and my boy Baker. What do you think? I think this is...
So this one's a bubble team for me just because of the quarterback situation. I do like the build as far as I like the wide receiver room. I like the Eckler Hero RB. I think his auto draft screwed him a little bit. We know he was in and out of auto draft here. It probably screwed him on his QB a little bit. And CEH is just, in the 6, I can see it, but still, Gibson went a couple spots after him. I'm taking Gibson. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I'm taking Damian Harris, who went at the end of the 6th. Over CEH right now, just based with some of what we've seen going on here. So for me, it's a bubble team. I think there's a path to the playoffs, but that's kind of, we know what happens when you auto draft, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Recreation Nation. This was Ian's pick. He kind of on the fly picked Recreation Nation as kind of the best setup here. He went Tom Brady in the 1st with his first QB, then Justin Fields in the 7th, followed by Mac Jones and Daniel Jones in the 11th and 12th. So really solidifying the QB situation, making sure he's good to go. At wide receiver, he went Devontae Adams in the 2nd, then Jerry Jeudy, Hunter Renfrow in the 8th, and Curtis Samuel in the 14th. At the running back position, he went Nick Chubb, David Montgomery, and then Marlon Mack in the 13th. And then at tight end, he went Darren Waller in the 4th, Dallas Goedert in the 9th, and Zach Ertz in the 10th. I'll tell you about this team. Like, I like the players. I think that he left himself thin at running back and wide receiver based on overdrafting tight end and QB. And Jersey J saying Ian was wrong. We love Ian. We kind of put him on the spot. He was trying to pick a team real fast here. I would think that if we went through these again, he might not pick it. And that's nothing against Recreation Nation. I think this team it's very top heavy. You'll be playing the waiver wire a lot. I think the team is fine to start out the year, but you'll have to be doing a lot of adjustments. For me, on paper, we're looking at it. It's probably a bubble to playoff team just based on the way he was able to construct it, but it's very thin.
Yeah, I think, there's some really nice pieces. You could do a lot with trade pieces here and stuff, and obviously it's not what we're here to talk about. But, if like a couple of moves that different, like if he would have taken instead of Jerry Jeudy, Allen Robinson, who I was glad he didn't because he would have sniped me. But like if you put Allen Robinson on this team, all of a sudden, like that's a way better wide receiver group for me than what he's currently at. And then maybe one other running back somewhere. Like again, if he would have went Rashad Penny instead of like Hunter Renfrow, and then
starting those 3 wide receivers, it gets tough to just roster the 4 that he's got there.
Right.
But shout out to Recreation Nation. He had a great. We were talking about Lord of the Rings drafts and Warrior drafts with him and Jersey J in the sleeper chat before the draft. So that was awesome.
Yeah, that was really
Jay
fun.
Blizzy, former listener leg champion here. He went Cooper Kupp in the 110, CeeDee Lamb in the 3rd, Mike Evans in the 4th, DK Metcalf in the 5th, followed by Devonta Smith in the 10th. At QB, he went Russell Wilson in the 2nd, Jameis Winston in the 9th, and Ryan Tannehill in the 11th. At wide receiver, I already did that. At running back, he did Josh Jacobs in the 6th. So he waited till the 6th here. He got Josh Jacobs, Kareem Hunt, and then in the 12th, 13th, and 14th, he took J.D. McKissick, Darrell Williams, and Kenneth Gainwell. In the 8th round, great value here. Yeah. After T.J. Hawkinson, he got Dalton Schultz here, who should be in line for a lot of volume.
Yeah.
So based on what he was able to do here, Jay Blizzy always usually drafting pretty well. How are you feeling here, Johnny, about Jay Blizzy's team?
So this is one of those teams, like as of right now, I'd say he's on the bubble, right? But then you're looking at this, and this is one of those teams we always talk about, like, yeah, he might be on the bubble, but this is a team you don't want to face in the playoffs. Like if he gets in, this is a team that could get real nice. Especially, I love the Darrell Williams. We're so late. Kenneth Gainwell could have some potential in the second year, and because Sanders hasn't been able to stay healthy. And then if Nick Chubb anything happens, which he has bound to happen, then Kareem Hunt could be, a solid running back. So, and then Josh Jacobs, we kind of hate on him, but at that value where he got him, I'm fine with it. So, yeah, I think that this team is probably on the bubble playoff team for me, but it's one of those teams that, like, if he gets in, it's pretty nasty.
Yeah, if things break right, if he is able to get in, then you're scared. Like that, because things will have hit. Because his wide receiver core is absolutely nasty. Like DK Metcalf's my backup. Absolutely.
It's that's one of those teams. Like if you make
I agree.
I'm scared, and I would go to church if I had to.
Yeah, Pizza Belly saying he should have went running back instead of Metcalf. I think that would have completed it there. J.K. Dobbins, I don't know about, but if you're looking at Gibson there,
even if you put Gibson there,
if you reached for a Miles Sanders or anything, like I think that's a little bit better as far as depth and what you're able to do there. All right, bringing it home with our guy Don Flick, last but certainly not least. He went Justin Jefferson at the 111, Jamar Chase. What a combo here. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Tyreek Hill in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. He then goes Javonte Williams and Jake. I mean, talk about a pure ceiling play for your first 5 rounds, 6 rounds with Terry McLaurin there. So then this is where obviously you kind of make up for going such big swings here. Trevor Lawrence. Let me finish out his wide receiver. So he went Terry McLaurin in the 6th round after that mega stack of the 3 bosses in the 1, 2, 3 there. Then Sky Moore in the 11th, and then Jameson Williams in the 13th. So again, just pure upside here. Running back in the 4th and 5th went Javonte Williams, J.K. Dobbins, then Chase Edmonds on the 9th, and Michael Carter in the 12th. At quarterback, Trevor Lawrence in the 7th, Carson Wentz in the 10th, and Drew Lock in the 14th. And then at tight end, T.J. Hawkinson. So Johnny, I mean, as at skill position, you're salivating at a lot of these guys. But did that leave him too thin at quarterback and maybe tight end that you're scared off of this team? Where do you have him? Is he on the bubble? in the playoffs, contender or maybe outside looking in.
Okay. Shout out to Don Flick because he's been doing some like different stuff with his draft, like truly using mocks to try different things. And I normally kind of hate on like the different stuff he tries, but on this scenario, I actually kind of like it. Like, I do think he would be on the bubble for me, but he definitely, I think, gets in based on the high upside of some of these guys. Like, dude, like there's going to be weeks you're just going to be, if you're facing him, you'd be so pissed because it'd be like, oh, you get your sleeper notification. It'd be like Tyreek Hill catches a 50-yard bomb. Oh, Jamar Chase catches a 50-yard bomb. Oh, Justin Jefferson, 2 touchdowns. And you're like, I'm out of it, dude. Like, I don't care who you're playing. Like, you're out, So, and, he does have some question marks with Dobbins. But I think Chase Edmonds is a very good value. I think Michael Carter, again, a good value. So, I think he's got enough to get, he'll be on the bubble for me. But again, this is one of those teams that like
I was going to look and see because he wasn't the only one who was like some of the auto drafted. Can we see?
Did he auto drafted?
No. I was trying to see what QBs were left because that's my big question when you're weak at QB is like what's on the roster, what's on the waiver. I mean, so I mean, I think that's another one that could land. I think that this team, I think I'm with you. I'm pretty much with you. It's a bubble to playoff team. Could be an absolute smash. Like if Trevor Lawrence takes a step and Wentz is just kind of what he was last year, like you're probably fucking like a contender with this squad,
right?
There's questions for sure. Javonte with the split, J.K. Dobbins with the not just the ACL but the PCL kind of stuff or the MCL stuff. Edmonds, I think he's a great upside shot. Carter could give you a floor in that offense as the pass catcher. I mean, I think there are just some really good pieces here, but it comes with its questions, of course, which is going to happen in a build like this. I mean, you absolutely anchored your wide receivers with 2 of the best 3 in the game.
Yeah, there would be some really fun weeks for sure.
As Mike said, Dobbins' injury scares me, especially with what Doc said last week. Guys, we are rocking and rolling, had some of our best numbers here at the end. We appreciate you guys rocking with us. Walker Base coming back in. But really, Jersey J, Pizza Belly, Calvin Brown, everybody, Albert that was in here. Austin came rocking through. We appreciate everybody rocking with us. Ian on the show tonight. So make sure if you missed any of it, you go to the you hit the subscribe button, you rewatch the video, you go to Spotify, you go to Apple, you get the download. John, you got any last words before we send Whisper Nation on their way?
Make sure you catch Thursday's show. Make sure you subscribe to the show. And also, one last thing. I know you said one thing, but there's 3. Make sure because we're going to be doing a 24-hour mock draft marathon coming up in just like 2 weeks, Travis. So, that is get some sleep for that, guys, because we're going to be mocking some of the best in the industry, and you could join us just like you can join us every Monday.
Hell yes. And Mike's saying getting ready for his show. Make sure you follow Get Right Fantasy Network over there as well. And all the other ones that are in there. If you're not in Scott Fishbowl, get out there on Twitter and get yourself into it. It's a great thing. It's rocking and rolling right now.
For a great cause too.
Yes. Fantasy Cares is an absolute smash of a cause. For Johnny Game Time Hicks, for Austin Sear, who couldn't be here today, but he'll be here on Thursday. I'm Big Travie. We're the Fantasy Whispers. We're out. Peace.
Right here.
Hey, do you like mock drafts? We do too. You can come back every Monday and mock with us. Check out one of these videos and make sure you're liked and subscribed.